Heyo, my Planet Coaster friends, Johnny5 Alive here, and welcome back to the campaign part 3 of Rides and Restoration. Holy good googly moogly, we're doing it. I'm gonna give my thoughts and opinions of the campaign while we do a speed build. I honestly just, before we get started, didn't think the campaign, like, I've played the Planet Coaster 1 campaign as well as Park Beyond, and a lot of them have been just plop, 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 beat the objective, go to the next level. And I figured we would be able to accomplish a few cool things along the way during each of the levels, but I didn't expect to accomplish this much and them to take this long. But that is a positive thing. That is a very positive thing because, hey, we learned how to make our own first ever wooden roller coaster, so that was great. And then we've made our themed food court. We placed down themed flat rides. The only thing we really need to do is add some scenery and keep going. But with that, all that being said, is the campaigns are hefty, jam-packed, content-heavy levels. And knowing that going forward, we're probably going to need like 3 to 4 episodes per campaign level. And it's like a full-on, it's going to be a long one before we beat this game, if we're going to do it properly. And I do kind of want to do it properly. So what we're going to be doing here today, because we now have the golden objective, we've done everything we've done up to this point. The last little bit, we need a daily income of 4 times higher than what we have. We need a way higher park rating, which means probably going to need lot theming and all sorts of things. And we are still on hard mode, by the way. So, and we need 70% of good guest moods in the park. So we really need to fulfill their needs. And I keep getting pop-ups of things breaking down, not having enough power, toilets are dirty, the park is in disarray. And I feel like it's very hard to do this all in just an hour, and I would like the next video to be moving on. And I love this freaking ride, by the way. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna move over to a speed build, and I am going to just go ham. Build as much as I can, theme as much as I can, do as much as I can, and we're gonna speed that up so that it all fits within this 1 hour long video, while also giving us enough time to walk around the park and experience our final product. So we're gonna do a speed build and a park spotlight all in one go. Let's just dive right on into it. Okay, so I'm gonna be talking over the speed build. It looks like I had like an hour and 30 minutes worth of footage, but there's 3 different recordings, and I think in between each of the 3 recordings, I sat there on fast forward mode for half an hour to an hour. There was a point where I just literally put it on fast forward, walked away and did stuff in my house, cleaned the kitchen and all that sort of stuff. Because we needed to pay off those loans, make money, and all that sort of stuff. So I definitely learned a lot throughout this experience, not only from playing the campaign, but editing the videos and delivering you guys this little series. The first couple levels worked out just fine. It was smooth. It was quick and easy to edit them. The jump cut format definitely allows you to take, like in the last video, it was like an hour long, but it was actually probably like 2 hours before editing. So it does like speed up the process in a way that makes the videos a little bit more to the point and more enjoyable to watch. However, through my findings, this is not sustainable in terms of content deliverance to the channel. It's taking me more time to edit the videos than it is actually playing the game. And the more I want to play, the more I have to edit. And it's going to become a bit of a nightmare. And I want to enjoy the process. So I think if I'm going to continue to play campaign, I have one of 2 options, and I'd definitely like to hear your thoughts down in the comments. It's this format, which is just doing it, recording while I play, taking that footage, speeding it up to a length that I find matches, you know, what I would like to achieve, like an hour-long video. And then I take that and I talk over it afterwards, kind of explaining what I'm doing and why, and just kind of watch over the footage. So interesting fact, you can see me placing benches there. They're not benches. Those are apparently tables. And at some point in this footage, I go back and like replace them all. And I didn't realize you can place tables without benches. And then I guess you have to place the benches separately. I don't really understand the new bench system, but they looked like benches to me. And I was wondering why they don't snap to the ground like they used to. It's because they're not benches. So that's funny. Anyways, yeah, back to what my previous point was, that talking over the footage isn't bad because I can kind of give my thoughts in retrospect, right? because I've already gone through the process, and now I can talk about the process, and I can talk about my learnings and findings after the fact, and that is pretty good. And I don't mind that at all. The other option is to just, you know, not edit the videos. We just play or stream them. Edit or stream, or record or stream, doesn't really matter. Stream is a little bit tougher because sometimes I just want to hop in and play for 2 hours, right? And that could be like a 2-hour long Let's Play. So, and with all the videos coming out and all the things going on, it's definitely hard to stick to a stream schedule or commit to anything. So I'm just trying to figure out like the content roadmap. Maybe as the schedule frees up more and more going into the future, I can figure something out where, you know, I stream on a certain day every week to get the campaign going. But I also want to maybe try Sandbox at some point. So I definitely think like an unedited raw, just me playing, and we could just go for like a 2-hour episode if everybody's okay with that. Because I definitely feel like these levels with the fast forwarding, the speed builds, everything gone into this one mission. I think I spent an over 8 hours in this level, but all in all, content on the channel after editing, I think you guys ended up with just over 2.5 hours of watch time to participate, which is definitely better because you got the same experience that I did in like a third of the time. And that is definitely the way to go in terms of making, you know, content that has like a good retention time. So I definitely feel like if I'm just recording and uploading the raw footage without any editing, I don't want to like take an 8-hour thing, chop it 8 times, and have 8 1-hour videos spread over the course of 2-3 weeks to end up with one level beaten. So I think the move would be to either speed it up like this or to just chop it into like 2-3 hour videos or a stream. And that is something I'm gonna have to figure out, but I also want that feedback from you guys. You can see me deleting all the stupid benches and replacing them with proper benches. And a process like this, like me going around deleting benches, that probably took me 5-10 minutes. But because we're sped up so quickly, it's not like bad at all. And that's where I'm kind of leaning into the whole thought of just speeding up the footage and talking over it. But it does come with the caveat that now that it's sped up footage, I do have to talk over it, which technically is still more editing time, but it is less than just jump cuts. So I got to figure that out for myself, but I do appreciate people's input. So whatever you think is like more entertaining to watch is most likely the thing I'm going to lean into. I think most people would probably want to just come and hang out on a live stream, but that is hard to convert into Let's Plays because it'll drag it out even more if I'm talking to people in chat. And that could potentially make the Let's Plays worse, if anything. So, and also I find it a lot easier to focus when I'm just in the zone and I'm not keeping an eye on chat or anything. And that's why I haven't been streaming it so far. It allows me to focus with the time window that I have and make the most of it. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts going forward, that something needs to change for campaign after, you know, editing these videos and going through the whole process. This level, it was chunky, and the next one's going to be chunkier, especially with my learnings and findings and the overall experience. I would like to add more hours to this park to make it a better park, but I don't want to necessarily waste my time on this park in particular, because the process of this one and the way the scenario is laid out isn't that inspirational. And what you'll see with these jump cuts and stuff, like in between the recordings, we just jumped from speed 1 to speed 2 recording. I think I was sitting there on fast forward for like an hour, and now you can see I have $20,000 in there, and I'm spending it on all these rides. I think at this point I paid off the loan, and then between the next recording, I'm back in debt by another 50 grand because I just couldn't handle sitting there on fast forward for, you know, hours. The strange thing about this game is we're on day 4, and we've been playing this park for like almost 8 hours. A day is about like 2 hours in game time. Every second in like sim time is like a quarter of a second of our time. So like, yeah, you have to sit there for a second for every 4 seconds of their day. It's almost like it's like a 1-to-4 ratio. So if you want to pass by, or maybe a little bit less, I might be over exaggerating, maybe a 1-to-8 ratio. Either way, it takes a while. Like I sat there on fast forward to get through a day, and I was sitting there on 3 times fast forward for almost an hour. So the days are long, and I don't know if that's like a pro or a con, right? I definitely, like, if you're just wanting to get some cash and to get the end of day summary, it takes a hot minute, because the objective was to get $200,000 in a day, and I ended up getting like 180, and then the day ended, and that meant I had to get 200,000. Like, it started over, and now it's like on a new day and it says you've earned 0. I was like, oh boy. So I had to, like, all the stuff that I added was in the middle of the day. I would have hit the 200,000 had I placed it earlier in the day. And then, so I was like, I basically just, in order to complete the objective, I had to just sit there on fast forward for an entire day. And that took like half an hour to an hour. So there are pros and cons to the days being slow. I think it gives you like a little bit more of an intimate experience in terms of like immersion, I guess. I don't know. It just feels like you can take your time a lot more and soak it up. Because I know with Planet Coaster 1, you'd be like, it's year 356. And you're like, I've been playing for like 2 hours. What's happening here? Like, the time would pass too fast in that game. And here it might be a little too slow. And I don't think they quite hit that like sweet spot. I think it could be just twice as fast as what it is now. Because I'm making a whole park in 5 days. That seems kind of silly, right? Building a park in sim time should probably at least take like a year or two, especially if you compare it. I think Rollercoaster Tycoon 1 nailed it. You finish an objective on year 3, year 5, but you'd be playing for a few hours, maybe 8 hours on like a big hefty one and that sort of thing. So yeah, I definitely have thoughts about this campaign, which I think I pre-recorded my thoughts of how the whole experience went. And I can tack that onto the end of the video. So I will be talking later about like how I felt about the experience. But as you can see in this footage, there's like a lot of notifications coming up. It was like guests were hungry, guests were thirsty, like they needed more luxury. Power was doing things. The repairmen weren't doing their jobs. And I honestly, like, I kind of got stressed out. And you can see me like just placing rides in the dumbest places now because the park map was too small. And I was just like, you know, I just got to get this stuff in. I went from wanting to make a nice themed decorative park to realizing in order to actually beat this objective, we just have to pack it with everything and utilize that space in a kind of a silly, unnatural and uncreative way, like putting coasters on cliffs because I have nowhere else to do it. You can't buy more land, you can't do anything, and I just need to like get more flat rides in because you need the guest variety to get your park rating up. And then as the guests are coming in and more guests are arriving, the food courts are filling up and they don't want to wait in line, so now you need twice as many food courts and shops and facilities and bathrooms. And I was like, holy moly, like, now knowing what I know now, I would approach this whole level completely different. How things are in the beginning when you have few guests in a large area is completely different from when the park becomes bustling, and that learning process is important. And with that being said, I was like, okay, I want to take my learnings into the next level and try to hybrid play like a smart objective based campaign with theming and creativity, but planning ahead for when things get out of hand. So I learned a lot about like staff scheduling and how many you need and how you can do that. And I think I talk about that in the end of the video wrap up, which should be coming up shortly here. But there's a ton to learn here and a ton to unpack. And it was a pretty good experience, but I definitely feel like there's too many alerts going off. Way too many alerts going off. It's just constant. It's just one after other and after other. And a lot of those alerts where it's like, click it, send a repairman. Click it, send a janitor. Click it, send a staff member. I feel like that stuff really should just automatically happen. And maybe it will be if we use staff zoning more strategically so that it happens more naturally on its own and then the game doesn't notify you. But I do think like the moment there's a problem, the game wants you to notify you, even if the AI has been programmed to go check it out. So it's just like, it just notifies you for the sake of notifying you, but it like pops up and takes up like a third of the screen, and it makes a sound and it makes an alert, and it gets aggravating, it gets annoying, and it makes the process stressful, and you don't want to be in a stressful environment when playing a creative game. So yeah, there was like a lot to unpack, and I think this third video doing the let's play, the speed build, and talking about it, it's more of like a post-mortem learning process for me. Like, how should I edit the videos? How do I want to display the videos? How do I finish a campaign? And then my overall thoughts and review of the actual process and how I want to change that going forward to the next one. And I think for the next level, I'm going to have like a completely different way of doing things. And I think it's going to be a completely different experience to that of played through this level in the last 3 episodes. So I look forward to delivering you guys a new process and a new level and a new just like approach to a campaign level. So I'm going to let Past Johnny speak now about my thoughts and opinions on this level. And that'll finish up my kind of like review of the campaign. So let's jump over to that. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Oh my God. It's gonna happen. Yes.
It's finally done.
Finally.
They're all restored. Despite the Foundation's questionable method, this really is a moment in history.
It's incredible how much coasters have changed over time. What if one day
I forgot we were playing a
someone is
scenario.
digging up our coasters and calling them old?
You should embrace change, my boy.
What
I
a
choose
mess.
to change my underwear at
What
least
a
twice a day.
mess.
That's a bit too much information, but it's an interesting perspective nevertheless. Something to consider, perhaps.
Anyway, with the coasters all fixed up, it's time for a new challenge.
No.
You go ahead. I want to do some more research here with Adriana first.
Ah, right.
Give me my platinum objective, please.
Understood.
No more
It's
missions.
not like that. Oh.
Say no more, lad. Say no more.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. Wow. Okay, so I did the speed build thing, sped everything up. I don't know what I've been talking about because I'm clipping this in after, and I'm talking about the video in the future. So this is an editing nightmare, this video in particular, and I'm gonna have to figure out what I want to do for this series going forward. But boy, oh boy, do we have so many talking points here, good and bad. I mean, trying to beat those objectives, as you guys would have saw, I just started placing everything. Right? There's no park expansions. It's so hard to squeeze it in. To get that unique rating, I literally had to just put down one of everything, and I could barely fit it in. The guest happiness and stuff like that, like they're all thirsty, they all need toilets, they're all hungry, they all need benches, and yet I like have benches literally every step. I have toilets every other step. And it's just crazy. So I don't know how well the game is tuned and balanced for campaign, not to mention, look at the notifications going off. They're miserable. It's a notification every 2 seconds. I got some help from Discord, so I'm going to show you guys some stuff here. So this is something I'm going to do in the future. Oh my God, those notifications are going to drive me nuts. So you have staff zones. You can set, like, you can paint, like, you can create a new zone, and then you can be like, this is a staff area, and like, the staff will only stay in this area. It's super helpful, but you have to plan your layout for it, right? Because the staff need to be able to use the paths that are in this zone to get to the staff facilities, to get to what they need to work on, and they need to be able to navigate that. So, you know, you kind of need to plan these staff zones, and then once you have a zone, you can go into the staff scheduling And at first I was kind of struggling with this. It was like, how do I like assign a staff member to this zone? And, you know, then you go to advanced settings, and then you can stay staff zone, upper zone, and then you have to apply all day. And now he's applied to that zone all day. But when you're this far into a level and you have this many staff and you don't know what they're doing and where they are, it's really, really hard to sort through. So I would say going into any campaign level, and in the future, what I'm probably going to do, it's a little bit of a headache, but it will make the park run smoother. Oh, here we go. Nice. We got an end of day report, guest experience. There we go. So park rating and reputation has gone up. That's great. We're making profit. And we still have massive debt because I had to take out a loan to get this far. But yeah, in terms of the zoning, like I probably should have had like a nice little circle here, staff facility area back to here. The problem is the space that they give you on this. You know, having staff facilities such as like a workshop right here, it actually impacts the scenery rating in this area negatively. That's why you want the staff paths leading you back to facilities, but those facilities need to be in a zone where the staff can work and do all their jobs, get to where they need to go, and go back to the staff facilities and take their break. And then you section that off, and then you're gonna have to build another staff area and another one. The bigger the park, the more staffing areas you're gonna need. However, in a map like this and a scenario like this, they don't let you expand or anything, so it became like really quite hard to manage, which in theory can be looked at good and bad. I gotta slow the game speed down because these notifications are coming in like crazy. These notifications going up literally had my anxiety level through the roof. It was just insane. So the staffing areas is gonna help the zoning, and I was like, why am I not getting any research? I put down these like workshops. They start off closed, and I didn't realize that. I have 4 workshops and 4 engineers working at them. I went from 5,000 research to 250,000. I think I have enough to buy everything in the game. So even if you had one research facility with employees working it, I don't know, just moderately, you would still have like way too much resource income. This wasn't really balanced in a fun way. Now that I can just buy everything, I feel like I sort of cheated, but I cheated with like, I played the game the way I thought it would be intended. I was like, oh, I'm gonna need lots of research bays to like really push it if I want to have a lot of things researched going into the next level. So I put 4 down. I didn't expect to get like enough to buy everything in the game 7 times over, right? I think like in worst case scenario, if you do 4, it's like, oh yeah, you have enough for the next level or 2 if you really overdo it. But even if you just underdo it, you're gonna have everything researched after the first level or 2. And that feels a little sad, to be honest. It's like, oh, I was hoping that this would be more of a grind, right? I feel like if I had 10 workshops working around the clock on a whole level for 3-4 days, maybe I could get like 2 or 3 extra researches, right? It should be a lot more grindy. It wasn't balanced. It's super disappointing to see that. So research is broken. I basically cheat engined my game, and now I have the money to buy everything in the game. So that doesn't really feel great. Yes, it's sectioned by chapter. I can't buy chapter 3 stuff until I'm on chapter 3, that sort of thing. It is gated by the levels, but I really do feel like it would have been more. I was excited about this research tree in this game, and now that excitement's sort of lost. So that was one talking point there. Yeah, the guest bar desperate thing that I was struggling with before, it basically just says guests are desperate, and you have to figure out why. And you come to the guest needs menu, and I don't know, maybe something here is red. They're desperate for luxury, but I have hats and balloons everywhere, and so far at this point in the game, there's no other luxury that you can add other than hats and balloons, and I have them. I have them everywhere, and honestly, I don't even know if I see anyone with a single balloon. I don't. Actually, I don't even think I've ever seen a balloon yet. Oh, there we go. I'm popping your balloon. Go buy another one. I wanted to give like a little bit of a park tour, but this is such a mess. It's funny because this park is called Parks and Restoration. This park needs restoration now that I'm done with it. I started having to place stuff in the weirdest spots. It was ridiculous, and now it's just a hot mess, and I'm ashamed of this park. I'm ashamed of what I've done. We were off to a good start. I think episodes 1 and 2 were going swimmingly, and then to beat the objectives on hard mode, it really did a number on me. So now I'm curious. There's is my park. We've ridden some of the coasters in the previous episodes, so I'm good with just abandoning this. I do say that my planning going into the next one, I don't want to give up on this campaign just yet. I do think Frontier needs to figure some stuff out. I'm overstaffed. At one point, I was just sitting there like I was just dropping staff. I was like, let me see if I drop like 100 engineers, if my problems will be resolved. And it's not. 100 janitors, everything's still dirty, everything's still broken. Maybe it has something to do with like the whole zoning. Maybe they need to be better zoned, but I really don't know. It's just the notifications are one after another, and that was driving me insane. So I'm just gonna have to live with that for now until Frontier finds a way to properly like ease up on these notifications and make the game just a little bit more user-friendly. So I want to go into the next level, not on hard mode, because what I found with hard mode is it's a fast-forward simulator. I don't know, I've probably spent I know it's been 3 episodes, but I've played this about 8 hours now for this level. And I'd say half of it is just sitting here on fast forward because the loans are increased, the debt, like just to refurbish one of these rides, $34,000. So by the time you get like enough money and your ride condition breaks down, you got to spend that money on a refurbishment, which meant like I'm still in debt after beating the scenario, and I didn't get to do what I wanted to do. I wanted to go in there, theme the queues, put down some Greek mythology stuff. I want to put statues down, and I was constantly just playing catch up, constantly having to put new rides down, and I've jam-packed filled this space to a point where it's like messy, and it doesn't even deserve theming at this point. And I'm wondering, like, going into the next one, if it's an easier difficulty, can I be a little bit more meticulous about things? Can I do things a little bit slower because the money's better, and I can place my coaster, build my coaster, put a sign on it, theme the queue, and still have enough money to progress to the next step? And are the goals going to be more easily achieved as a result, making it so I can fill up the park but do it pretty? And I don't know, like, I filled this park up to the right to the top, and if I was making it pretty along the way, I might have actually ran out of space and not had enough space. It's actually difficult, but I would say that difficulty and that the amount of content that you need to put in and the amount of rides you need to get that attraction rating up, and the amount of shops and facilities and everything, just the sheer amount of things you need to get that platinum objective, especially on the harder difficulty, it gets you playing the game. It definitely does. There's a lot to do. And if I spent 8 hours on this, this is my like first real go on a good scenario level, and looking back at it, I would have done it completely differently. But honestly, I really don't like the level in general because you have to fix 5 of the coasters and it takes up literally 60% of your park space, and you just have to add to it. So there's not a lot of room for creative growth. I was having troubles. I couldn't even delete rocks. I couldn't move stuff. The borders aren't expandable. So it's not like the most inspiring objective to begin with. Plus you have to fill it with a lot of stuff. So they definitely get you playing the game. I just don't know if this is the level for me. And that's where I realized at some point, theming's not going to happen. And I don't think this is the best map to invest all my time in, because I can't say that I made all these coasters or even place them. If they were from the workshop, they're not community creations, they're just in-game creations. So I think we need a better canvas if we're going to really sink our teeth in and put in some, due diligence. But yes, again, to iterate, going through it like pace by pace, theming it, filling it in, getting the shops, getting the facilities, the benches, everything that you need, and kind of completing that area and moving on to the next segment and rinsing and repeating until you have a full-fledged theme park is what is required to beat the level, and you will turn out with a good park. So if you're being a little bit messy from the get-go, you will run out of space, or you'll have problems, or it'll be unorganized chaos. You'll be getting lots of alerts. So there is a lot of management, and I all these things that I point out are kind of like a compliment, because a lot of theme park games, Planet Coaster 1, Park Beyond, and things like that, the objectives and the levels have been easy to beat by just plunking down some stuff. And I was hoping to kind of plunk down stuff and then theme it, but then I was plunking down stuff right until the very last minute. And I'm just exhausted at this point and don't feel like this park deserves theming, and I'm just ready to forget this ever happened and move on to a new project. And with that being said, I'm hoping the next level is a little bit more creative, gets me a little bit more invested, and gives us that creative space. So here's the hoping anyways. Now, what I'm really curious to see here, we want to pop back to the main menu. If we go to career mode and we go to the next level, difficulty settings. Let me see, we were on hard before. What does it do? Lower difficulties will increase your starting cash. Okay, that's great. When demolishing objects, you will be refunded a percentage of the item cost, which I probably wasn't getting. Lower difficulties will be refunded the full cost. Gives you creative freedom. Higher difficulties will increase the price of new park areas. Higher difficulties will increase the total amount you need to repay. And that's where I was saying this is a waiting simulator. You're just constantly sitting there on fast forward. Higher difficulties lower what guests consider a fair price for tickets. So therefore you could actually grab a ride and increase the price and the guests would still think it's fair, which would increase your overall income. I saw people on Discord saying they were playing on normal and easy and they had loads of money. And that loads of money equals loads of creativity. When you're strapped for cash, you can't even afford to place a tree. So again, the harder the difficulty, it really just increases the time it takes to complete and the time it takes to save up money. And you will find yourself fast forwarding a lot. And I feel like that time that you spend in the game on fast forward, you should be building something, you should be decorating something. But if you do that, you kind of might hit a bankroll. Like you might have to take out more loans, you might lose more money. The more money you spend on trees and decorations and queues, the more likely you are to fail the objective. So if we're making money while we're decorating on easy mode, now when we want to go do our next expansion, we have $100,000 to do so, and we have creative freedom. So in some ways, easy sounds like sandbox and hard just sounds like waiting simulator. Now I've learned my lesson. I wanted to try it and I learned what it's all about. And I can say it's for some people for sure. If I had all the time in the world and we wanted to, we wanted to really stretch out each scenario level to 10 episodes each, hard mode's the way to go. If you want longevity and you want to play the park for a very, very long time, I do think there's value in hard mode. Just know that you will be sitting there sometimes on fast forward for a while. There were times I literally just walked away for an hour. I'm not kidding. And it's crazy. And I would rather not do that. So we learned what the difficulty is all about. I usually play all my games on the hardest difficulty, and I usually never play any games on easy, but easy sounds like sandbox. So I think that's the goal for the next one. And I was saying a few episodes ago, a shore thing looks exciting. This beach coast, the pier, this looks fun, and I do feel kind of excited to jump into this one. But as we beat the level, we did unlock chapter 2. So we have building the Bifrost giant mountain to do Viking stuff on. And I know the community has sent in a lot of amazing Viking creations. So that one to me also looks kind of interesting. This one's unique. Farmland Fiasco. You have to build like a farm. I like that idea. And that would be kind of interesting to see. Don't know what's going on with this one. 2 parks by 2 different brothers. So this looks like more of an objective-based challenge. I guess you'd be literally building 2 different themed parks. One looks aquatic and one looks Viking. Less interested in that one. Rolling with it, a big nature park, and a building on a big cliff again. But if I'm gonna build on a cliff, I think I'd rather do the Bifrost. So I think for the next one, I'm just gonna do it one by one. I wanna check out a shore thing. We got Parks and Restoration complete. I consider that a W. I had ups and downs. I have good things and bad things to say. Personally, reduce the amount of notifications, make the staff AI slightly better, and I think the campaign is a really solid experience because of the amount of things they actually force you to do. Getting that gold and platinum star, you are actually building a theme park, and I do actually think that's great. And even though the last bit of Parks and Restoration I was feeling kind of defeated and miserable, I still come out of it like thinking that was a good experience, and if I were to do it again, I would approach it completely differently. And that is the sign of a good game, because part of me wants to go like, I need redemption on this, but we'll get my redemption maybe after, I've researched everything. But I feel like there's unfinished business there, but at the same time, I think there are better scenarios to put our time and effort into that are more deserving of our time. And I want to explore what those are. And I think at some point, I'm hoping we find a campaign level that I really get invested in, and I turn it into something beautiful. And that is the goal. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is a look at like a really like a really good look at one of the more in-depth advanced levels in this campaign. Took us a 3-part episodes to get through it, and I think it was a positive experience overall. I'd say the good outweighed the bad, and I do think if you're looking to dive into a theme park management game, this is not only challenging, but in-depth. All that being said, I actually look forward to doing a sure thing. So it's a sure thing, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Bye now.